Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds and ambassadors everywhere. Ambassador Wing. And well, tonight I could say it is a happy occasion, but obviously it is not. For those of you that are follow the news on social media, we got some rather sad news yesterday. A legend, an icon, a man who impacted many of us, an entertainer, a performer, an artist who, for a lot of us, especially if you were a teen or a kid in the 90s, was a huge part of our childhoods and our teenage years, sadly passed away. And that, of course, was the late, great Mr. Kevin Conroy, or as many of us knew him better as Mr. Bruce Wayne, aka the Batman. And this evening, we are doing this memorial stream in memoriam for Mr. Conroy to share our thoughts on his career, on his legacy, and on the impact that he had on each of us, even though we may have never had the opportunity to actually meet him face to face. I, of course, have put the link to the stream to join me this evening and discuss and share their thoughts on anything pertaining to Mr. Conroy and his career, of course. And of course, I do already have a couple of fellow ambassadors. You know them, you love them, Mr. Jack Beers and Mr. MB Geek, MB Grandpa Geek. And I will let them in right now. Just give me a second, fellas. And good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Jack, Geek, good to see you both.
Good.
So I was actually amazed I'm still up, but sometimes I stay up.
Well, as good as. Well, gentlemen, as I said before I brought y'all in, we got kind of kicked in the gut yesterday.
That was,
and we have lost.
Big kick in the gut. Yeah.
Over the last several years, we have lost many great performers, many actors, actresses, singers, musicians. I would say the last one they probably when Leonard Nimoy died. You know, of course, Mr. Spock. But this one hits closer to home because we all grew up. A lot of us grew up watching the Batman animated series, and for us, except for Michael Keaton and Adam West, this was our Batman. And of course, he would go on to voice the Batman in other series, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, numerous video games, and
other little DC movies.
He was our Batman, and to see for him to be gone, yeah. And the way that he went to and everything taken by cancer, which is, can I just say F cancer?
Agreed. I'll drink to that.
F cancer.
Yeah, F cancer.
Marcus, this is not the time for a bunch of pay drama. If you cannot pay attention to the title of the stream, if you cannot pay attention to the clicker, then don't be here. And you're done.
Yeah, man. I was in the middle of I was having fun on Twitter. I was messing with people about political stuff. I know, big surprise. And then all of a sudden I saw that pop up on Twitter. I saw somebody, one of the guys I know, pop up and it said, Kevin Conroy's dead. And I'm just like, click. I'm like, oh, fuck, no. And then I just went right in and I was like, all right, guys, I'm done. I don't care anymore about politics right now. Kevin Conroy died. I got to get with the geek community now because I need to be there for them and I need them there for me right now.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I lost my Batman. This is
Yeah.
my
Go ahead,
idea.
Geek.
Well, this is what I would say the equivalent to people who said Christopher Reeves was their Superman when he died.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I can agree with that. Grant, I was never the biggest Superman fan, but I did enjoy, the Christopher Reeve films. Superman 2 is a all-time favorite of mine. I love the first, obviously, and it stung quite a bit when Christopher Reeves dies, but this,
Hmm.
he fought so damn hard. He fought so
I
hard for so many years to
Yeah, I agree.
it
I
was
rem
it just
I remember when
it
that
ripped
happened.
me up. Um Jack, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, no, I remember when that happened
No,
when
no,
Christopher
go
Reeve
ahead, Zach.
died, and it was devastating because just like I think we all agree that that was the definitive Superman.
That
And
was my first introduction to Superman on TV, or I'm sorry, live action.
Mhm,
I saw that
sure,
before I saw
mhm.
the George Reeves ones.
so did I. So did I. And I did see the and I do appreciate the George Reeve one, but it's just Christopher, um, hands down, he just felt like the definitive Superman for me. And as much as I like as much as I love Adam West, you see, I had a little shrine. I think I sent you a picture to Ambassador. My little shrine for tonight. It's got
You
both
did. Yeah, you did.
Adam West and the Kevin Conroy Batman figures with their
Yep, I saw that.
Batmobiles. Yeah. Um,
If you're okay with it, Jack, I'll bring that image up if you're okay with
oh,
it.
please go ahead. Go ahead. Um,
Okay, okay. I sure you're okay. Go ahead,
yeah.
Jack, please.
But yeah, so I mean, and then for Kevin Conroy, uh, that was a multi generational Batman for a lot of
Mhm.
people when it came to the non live action
Mhm.
aspect. Um, I mean, live action, you got
Yeah.
the Batmans, they keep going. There's more and more Batmans, but for the last 30 years, with the exception of a few other, other projects, um, the definitive non-action Batman, animated, CG, whatever, um, was Kevin Conroy.
So something interesting.
Yes.
I was watching sometime back. I think it was during some Comic Con. I think Jack was talking about Jack and I were talking about Kevin Conroy or something, and I decided to go look up some interviews and stuff with him, and I came across one that I want to share with you guys because this is interesting. Voice actors are not known for being known, except
Right.
for very, very small circles. Most people have no clue who they are. They don't expect to get
Mhm.
seen. They don't expect to get stopped down
That's my
the
little
streets
shrine for
of
tonight, by the way.
New York or Manhattan or anything. Dude, that was so freaking awesome, by the way. I
Yeah.
know that was fitting. That was really fitting, man. You
And
know
and,
what? We need
and
to get
now
a
I
t-shirt.
bet
We need to get
they're
a
sitting there
t-shirt like
swapping
that.
stories.
Yeah, but let me finish this. So Kevin Conroy said he was
I would
jaywalking down in Manhattan or jaywalking in New York, and he goes, nobody ever gets ticketed for jaywalking. He goes, all of a sudden the cops flash the lights, and he's like, nobody gets pulled. Wait, he's getting all mad. He's like, all of a sudden they got a speaker, Batman, pull over to the curb. And he just gets this expression. He says he got this speaker. He goes, you know who I am? They're like, everybody knows who you are. We just want a picture with you.
Ah,
And
they pulled him over
that's
for a picture.
and that's when he realized he really was the face. That's why I said he is the face of Batman, even though he was a voice actor, because you knew who he
well,
was. You knew the name Kevin Conroy, and you could know his face.
I had never seen a picture of Kevin Conroy until many, many, many years later, and I was like, I can see where they got the design for Bruce Wayne slash Batman, because if you look at a picture of Kevin Conroy and you look at
That is one
a
square jaw.
still, yes, that is one jacked square jaw. But most everybody knows I'm not the biggest DC person. Never really have been. I'm more Marvel. But Batman was the one DC that I really enjoyed, particularly know the animated series. The end. This is how I got to know who Batman was, and
I think that was for a lot of people,
Kevin
Ambassador.
Conroy's performances, even though he never, yeah, well, and it's just, it's like you've lost a best friend. It's like you've lost an uncle. Granted, I've lost that this year, but you his performance as Bruce Wayne, as Batman, was so impactful, and he really set the tone for what Batman. If you look at the various live action performances, particularly on the big screen, I mean, particularly in the aftermath of Kevin Conroy's performance, if you look at um,
The
Val
Bale.
Kilmer, if you look at Christian Bale, if you look at a little bit that Ben Affleck was Batman, you can see pieces of Conroy's performance and what each of those guys brought to their performance as Batman
Very
and as
true.
Bruce Wayne
That,
both.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I agree.
I mean, it's subtle. It's very small, subtle things, but
It's in the
you
vocals.
can't help but
It's
see
it's in the it's in,
Conroy's.
it's in the vocals, and it's also, I think, in Conroy's idea that Bruce Wayne was never the actual character. Batman was the actual character, and Bruce Wayne was the persona.
Yeah, the way I describe it is
Mhm.
I said what this show did is it explained what the comics was always trying to say, which in what point in one of the comics, Superman is talking to him about you'll never be able to show your face, and Batman's like, "This is my face," pointing to the fact that Batman is his true identity, and Bruce Wayne is the mask. In
Mhm.
fact, it was
Yes,
really, really said beautifully in the dark in Nightfall. Bane is a understand this. Bane is incredibly smart, and Bane is looking through binoculars,
Yes.
and he sees it. He goes, "Who is that?" Somebody goes, "Bruce Wayne." He goes, "Oh, that's not him. That's Batman." He's like, "Bruce Wayne's Batman." He goes, "Yeah, he thinks he can put that mask on and fool me because he knows." That's what I'm getting. That's what those were just sort of brilliant lines that I didn't realize how
Yeah.
brilliant it was until a decade or so later. And it's because of what Kevin Conroy did.
Well, and in the last several years, I mean, I'd say like the last 10, voice actors have really started to get the credit that they are due. And Kevin Conroy is one of those voice actors who, even though the shows that he was a part of are no longer on air, but they are running in syndication, they are running on streaming services and so on, and they're getting that recognition now. I mean, they're getting that recognition because of people like us who will review a 20 or 30-year-old cartoon because it was such a great series and the stories and the performances were so well done. And if you look at who Conroy worked off of, I mean, I saw a post yesterday. Granted, I'm putting all this other stuff aside. I'm just going to see remarks that Mark Hamill said in terms of Conroy's passing. Very classy, very very classy. And there's a
I
really
haven't got a
goofy
chance. I
picture.
haven't got a chance to see his response yet.
you can tell that he was hurting in his message, Bo.
So
Yeah, you
one of
could.
the
I mean,
things you mentioned that they're finally getting the credit they deserve. I mean, I don't
mm,
think we didn't realize until many years into our adulthood that when shows like He-Man and
mhm,
She-Ra were going on, those syndication, one voice actor could be doing up to 15 different voices.
mhm.
That's very
And
true.
not even just on that series. And it was like we did not know what these people, how much
Yeah.
these people had to go through, how much they had to work to give us that.
Well, and the real funny thing is Conroy made his mark with that voice role, and
Hmm.
he rode that for a very long time, and he was, as I said, for us, for our generation, for those that have come up after us, he was for the longest time until the next live action Batman, which was, of course, Michael Keaton and then Val Kilmer. And then, well, briefly, George Clooney for one movie, and then he was done. Then we had a long hiatus. And then you had Christian Bale come in and do his turn. And of course, you had, like I said, Ben Affleck. And then, of course, there's one we can't forget, and that's the most recent one. That's, of course, Robert Pattinson. But Conroy set that mark. He set his he put his stamp on that character, and he has owned it for decades. I mean, he leaned hard into it and everything because he realized how much the fan did him, and he understood how much we appreciate what he did, and we all stood behind him, particularly in his battle against cancer. I never had the opportunity to meet the guy. I wish I had. Unfortunately, the side of heaven I
Yeah,
won't
me
get to.
too, man.
I didn't even know
But
you
I
had
know,
cancer.
uh, that's the interesting thing about a lot of performers and everything who fight serious illness. They generally keep it to themselves, and that's because they don't want
True.
their personal life to overshadow what they do. I mean, look at one actor that
Uh,
um
Chadwick
they're paying
Boseman.
Chadwick
Chadwick
Boseman did the
Boseman.
same thing.
That
Yeah,
was who was,
yeah.
yeah. And do you want to just real quick to the chat? Do you want to say hello to Spirit Hero Collectibles? Good to see you, pal. I appreciate you being here tonight. So, but Conroy and Bozeman. Granted, Conroy never acted on in front of the camera except for once, and that was in a CW show and
Right.
everything. But it's just
It's
you
gut
wish
wrenching.
it is. It really is, and you know, looking back at all the work he did, how much time and effort and energy he put into just that one part is nothing short of astounding. Jack, I know you had a few interactions with Conroy and everything. If you'd like to share those and everything, by all means, the floor is yours.
Sure. Well, uh, they weren't. They were very recent. Actually, they were within the last 2 years.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I learned about Cameo, the website Cameo, around 2020, and
Hmm.
it was during a very rough year for me. Like the last, 2020, 21 were rough years for me. I don't necessarily talk about my
Hmm.
personal life, but they were. Um, and at the end of 2020, I learned about Cameo, and I realized that Kevin Conroy was one of those people on Cameo. And well, hey, he only costs about $100. It's like, hey, $100 to get a message from Batman himself. Shit. So that's what I did. I
Hmm.
paid for a Cameo, and I mean, like, I just explained a little bit about my life and my situation. I was hoping he can, like, you know, do a congratulatory thing in the Batman voice or something, and he delivered. Um, and that was 2020.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I even I don't know if you know who Orville Nation is. I'm sure you do, but I asked
Oh
him
yeah,
to shout out.
I know Orville Nation. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him to
That's
shout out
PJ.
Orville Nation because, um, we're cool and everything, and I thought it would be kind of, I just thought it would be cool to do that for him, and
I
he
remember
did.
that.
He totally appreciated it, PJ. Um, shout out to him. He
Mhm.
totally appreciated it, and then in 2021, I mean, and the other thing was this: his message in between all of that, his message of like positivity, of like, hey, like, you survived 2020, you can survive anything. You were strong. You're believe in yourself, Jack. Like it even says that in that Batman voice. He goes, "Believe in yourself, Jack." And it's like,
Yeah.
how can you not appreciate that man after he gives you something like that? And uh, so the second year that 2021 last year comes by,
Mhm.
and I decide, you know, to give myself another Christmas cameo, and
Mhm.
I pay for another Kevin Conroy cameo. This time, he raised the price to 120. I mean, honestly, I didn't care. He could have raised the price to $500, but
Mhm.
you know, and so this time I was, I'm a I'm a Batman fan, but I'm also like a Darkwing Duck fan. I'm a
Oh
huge
yeah, I remember
Why does
this.
I'm
that not surprise me?
I'm a huge fan of
No,
Darkwing
but
Duck.
this was funny, man. If you haven't seen it,
I seen it. I seen it because Jack shared it. I saw it. Yeah,
I remember that.
And
that
they're all on
was
my Twitter if you guys want to check it out. It's way too much beer. That's in my description
yeah.
here. Um, yeah, and yeah, so I went ahead and asked him if he could do that for me. But then, like, it was one of those things where, like, it was a rough year as well. But then there was some,
Mhm.
like, good things. I'm now I'm she's now my fiance, but
Mhm.
we had met, and me and Elise had met, and you know um to have him say, like, congratulations on your thing, Jack Beers. It was like,
Yeah,
as
I can
Batman.
mhm.
Yeah,
I
but
can totally get that.
my favorite part is always going to be, I am vengeance, I am the night, I am terror that flaps in the night. And oh my god, he did that in the Batman voice for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was so cool. I did not see that coming.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
was so fun to see him just be, I mean, be a good sport enough to do that. And
yeah, obviously.
the idea that I was starting to build up in my head was, hey, I'm gonna just every year I'm just gonna get Christmas cameos from this guy. I don't care how much he raises the price. Like, I'll do it, because
Mhm.
not only were they, like, just, those little things were wonderful, but then the 5 minutes in between all of that, you know, where he actually talks about how life is hard, but you've overcome that, and because of that you are a champion. Believe in
Mhm.
yourself, and you will always prevail. And that was always his message. um I loved it, and I am very
Understand
sad
it.
that
So
I'm very sad that I will not get another cameo from him, but I am very grateful for what he's given me for the last 2 years.
Man, I gotta tell you, when I saw that, I
What he's given.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, what he gave us, it was just
Go ahead, Geek.
I
You're
went
fine.
in and I started tearing up.
I cried too when I heard when I heard he passed. I cried too because
You know,
I mean, as much as he meant to me, with those cameos and with his years and years and years of being Batman, and then suddenly you realize it's gone. It's not happening
Yeah,
anymore.
it's. I have been acquainted with death at a very young age. For those of you who know my personal history and so on, so it's not that death has lost its sting by any stretch. It hasn't. Childhood, you can't help but maybe feel the years a little more than you normally would. But the thing that I always remember, and particularly in his case, concerning what he was physically and medically, he's no longer in pain. And I don't know the condition of his soul.
True.
I pray that he did know the Lord. I pray that he know. I pray he did know God, and that he finally has some peace. And that for me is the biggest thing, because
Agreed.
when I get upstairs, whenever my time comes, I tell him, "Thank you, thank you for being not just my Batman, but my generation's Batman." You know,
Multi-generational Batman.
granted, Michael Keaton, yeah, he was Batman for many. As y'all mentioned, he was Batman for many, many generations. Not just ours, but
hmm
generations that came after us. And as long as those, as long as that series is on streaming and on the format it might come out on down the road, his legacy will live on. And
I'm just glad I
he was
got it
very
on physical
fortunate to
media.
have. Yeah, and I may eventually do the same myself. But it's he was very fortunate to work with so many other great creative minds and the animated series, and now Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and of course Batman Beyond. He had such a phenomenal group of writers and other actors to work off of, and he, with just nothing more than uh, his vocal ability, his voice, to bring a piece of celluloid animation to life and make you believe that this was a person who lived and breathed and bled and sweated and struggled every day.
And understood who Batman was.
Yeah, really understood. So,
Yeah.
and we have an
Hey, Ambassador,
and we have a
I said it
evening
here.
who really needs.
I was just saying,
Yeah,
I said I could stick around for about a half hour. It's that half hour. I'm gonna head out, bud.
have okay, but
You,
Geek,
you
thank you for
guys take
stopping by
care.
tonight.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
Yeah, no
us.
problem, man. But I'm
Thanks
gonna.
for thanks for
I
coming
need
by. Like,
unwind now, you guys.
Let's see. All right.
All
Good
right, bye
night,
bye.
Geek. Take it easy, bud.
take care.
Bye.
Let's give it a minute. And of course, joining us this evening is a man who really needs no introduction. He is a longtime member of the Ambassador Wing and Ambassador himself. You know him, you love him. I call him my friend, and that's because he is Mr. Zach Leary.
Hey,
Evening, Zach.
how are you guys doing?
Hey, Zach.
Hey, thank you for having
Yeah,
me, man.
well, I'll Zach, Hey, you know you're always welcome, bud. Well, all things considered, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
But
Well, Jack, nice to meet you, man. I don't recall being in a show with you, so good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Zach. Yeah.
And I'm calling in from work, so I won't be on for too
okay,
long. So just calling in to
that's
say a
fine.
couple things.
However long you
So I
want to be.
wanted to start, if you don't mind, with just the fact that this guy understood his character. Like he took the time, he cared, he was invested in the character. And you see that in the behind the scenes where he's talking about studying the material, not betraying the audience, and having like a relationship with them. So I think we got lucky, man, with him for sure. I think we all lucked out.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely agree because he had an understanding of the character on a level that, except for maybe Michael Keaton before him,
Yep.
and maybe Adam West, but Adam West's portrayal of Batman was more campier, was more cheesy. It wasn't quite as serious. But when you
Yeah.
had Michael Keaton come out and you had Tim Burton and the two of them collaborating, you saw what we saw with Batman the Animated Series is almost a continuation of that
It was
particular
definitely
tone and
inspired,
theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
most definitely inspired by
especially
the
with the
80s
music.
Batman 89 film. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it kind of grew into its own unique kind of spin take on it.
Exactly.
So it evolved over the years, and I think just with all the different material he was given, he really had a chance to make that his own thing. And you kind of see that with throughout the show, but also you've got great little parts. Well, not little parts, but great parts in stuff like Mask of the Phantasm or The Killing Joke, and really kind of did something super unique with the games. So, in terms of him,
Yes.
he has totally left his mark on the character, and in the minds of a lot of people, is the definitive character, the definitive actor to play Batman.
Agreed. And
Yes.
yeah, even Alicia says like he even made non-Batman fans become fans of Batman.
I wanted to say
I
this
mean,
too,
like I said, go ahead. Go ahead, Zach, please.
Well, why I say we're lucky is because he was a guy who really was a theater actor. So the guy who was casting Batman did not actually, well, that guy had known Kevin in the past and was friends with Kevin and said, why don't you come and read for this show I'm doing? So we got really, really lucky because he didn't, as far as I know, at least this is my recollection, he didn't go out for it. He was invited to audition as a stage actor and got the job that way.
I think this is true. So Kevin Conroy. Okay, I'm going to bring Kevin Smith into this because he did a podcast with Kevin Smith where he actually told his whole life before he was even cast as Batman. It was a podcast called Fat Man on Batman, and it was a whole hour where he, explained his past. I'm not sure if that's where you got that from.
Could have been, yeah, maybe.
But, yeah, but that was one of the things that I searched for and I found last night after learning, and wow, re-listening to that. Where he tells his entire life, and then just talks about how grateful he is because he was as lucky as he was to land Batman.
Yeah, it worked out. I mean, that's the thing, man, is you never know, who's going to make it or give you that opportunity down the road. And it's really a beautiful thing. His friend helped him get the job. So,
yep.
Yeah, he was a really successful stage actor, which is pretty cool, and probably gave him a little bit of an edge in terms of just the whole thing. The way he inhabited the part. You see him and Mark. It's like a little performance when they're in the booth together. Like, it's awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love watching little clips like that.
Well, and you mentioned that he's a stage actor. being on stage, you really have to put more emphasis, not just on your physical performance, but also on your vocal performance, on how you pitch your voice, how you enunciate everything, how you really deliberate how you're going to deliver those lines. Because when you're doing an animated role, the performance does partly come through the animation, but it mainly comes from the voice. And
Yeah.
Conroy had
Yep.
he had a very distinctive voice, a very recognizable voice and everything, particularly when he dropped down several octaves and he went into the Batman
Yep.
persona. I mean, you could even say that he and everything, Batman was a part of him. And
Yeah.
everything, it was a
Yeah. I
part
agree.
of his own
Yeah,
mentality, his own mental state, because he had done the role for so long. Jack, go ahead.
I was just gonna add in. He used to call. I mean, he used to call his home Wayne Manor because.
Meanwhile, at
You know,
stately Wayne Manor.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah, that's fun.
it's yeah, I have my moments. But we have lost so many, really talented actors and actresses this year.
I know.
This one, of everybody that we have lost this year, I don't know if maybe it's just because it's coming up on the end of the year or what have you, or maybe it's just because we all are so very fond of Kevin Conroy because of the parts that he played, or the part that he played, and the impact he had on us. This one hits a little harder than most others. And everything. It's not
Well,
that any. Go
yeah.
ahead, Zach.
So, well, I was just going to say he was just such a positive man. When you would hear him speak, there was such positivity and charisma.
yes.
So in terms of why people are fans of him, it has a lot to do with the performance, but the man behind it is just as important.
Yes.
Like you were
He
saying.
understood. He understood why Batman was important. I think is one of the important things. Not just the fact that he was important, but why he was important to other people. And he explained it like a lot in my in my cameos. He explained it was like he thinks a lot of it has to do with the fact that Batman wasn't a superhero. He was, and because he wasn't a superhero, he was the one that we could almost relate to because none of us are superheroes.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
this was an ordinary man who stood amongst gods, and many regarded him just as highly as they did all those other heroes, all these other
Right.
individuals with these incredible powers and abilities, and all he had was his will and his
Right.
mind and his vast,
I mean,
vast
he
fortune.
stood among Superman and Wonder Woman, who were gods, while he,
Mhm.
compared to him, while he was mere mortal, who, I mean, at the most, I mean, he can beat Superman with some kryptonite and a advanced suit.
Mhm.
Yeah, he had to use his brain, and that's
Yeah, he had
something
to
that's
use his
pretty
Yeah.
mind.
cool.
Exactly. He had.
I wanted to.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry. Okay. Well, I wanted to throw this out there. Is I love Kevin's Bruce Wayne. As awesome as his Batman is, the Bruce is just, I mean, a tremendous job in terms of all the different versions of the Bruce persona. His had, I think, some of the most unique qualities. He could do the dark side of it, but he could also be very relaxed and fun and funny, and you could kind of get the heart from his
Right.
Bruce.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And, a lot of people said he's one of the few that could strike that balance of being a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne. where some people have said a particular live action actor, well, they're better at this one part, but not so good at this other part. But Conroy was able to do both. And, there's one particular episode of the animated series that it's actually the introduction of Mr. Freeze, Hard of Ice. And Bruce is talking with this other industrialist, Ferris Boyle. And the Boyle is just an absolute sleazebag. And Wayne or anything says in response to something that Boyle says, I feel ill. And he's not just so much talking about the fact that he's fighting a cold, but he's like, this guy's attitude and how he runs his business makes Wayne physically ill.
Right.
And but he plays it off. He's like, I'm not feeling so good, Ferris. I'm going to head out. And he just completely he completely fools the guy. And it's as both of you said, it's his ability to understand both parts of this character, the dominant persona and the disguise, the mask. And that, of course, is Bruce Wayne, not Batman.
But in all the different portrayals, though, his is the one guy I would want to have a beer with. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Sure, agreed.
Well, for all of Bruce Wayne's trappings and his wealth and his intellect and everything, he is the most, I think, down to earth character and member of the Justice League that there is. He's a straight shooter, and that's something that is very rare to find nowadays, is somebody who is just a pure straight shooter who will tell you exactly how it is, what he thinks, how he feels, and even if you disagree with him, he'll stick to his ground, and that's to be admired. There's another episode, but this is from the Justice League animated series, where they actually decide. No, wait a minute, it's actually one of the movies. It's, I think, Justice League Doom, where they decide it's too dangerous. This one deals with Vandal Savage and a group of other superheroes forming a version of the Legion of Doom. And they use Bruce's contingency plans to temporarily defeat the Justice League.
I see. Because it would divide them. Okay.
Because in the aftermath, they realize Bruce was the one that came up with all these plans, and he's like, well, if you can't understand the threat that the Justice League poses to the world, then he's like, I shouldn't be here.
Right.
And actually, no, there was an episode that did deal exactly with this, but there was also a movie that dealt with it as well.
Okay.
But the interesting thing was, as he's leaving, Superman says to him, the door will always be open to you if you ever decide to come back. Right. And just as he's being teleported off the Watchtower station back to the Batcave, to Wayne Manor, there's just a hint of a grin on Bruce's face. Because I think he understands that they understand why he did what he did, even if everybody wasn't completely on board with what he did.
Right.
So.
Interesting. Yeah, I really want to read up on that one now. I'll have to look that up. Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Zach.
Well, let me throw another curveball out there. Unless you had something else you wanted to add to that last part.
No, go ahead, Zach. Please.
I was really gratified to see that he got an opportunity to play a live action version of his character, even if it was an alternate version. I had been rooting for him to get an opportunity like that for years and years and years. So, guys, what is the name of that show he appeared in? It was like it was some multiverse.
It was a CW show from The Flash, right?
It was just a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, it could have been.
It might have been. What?
Hold on.
Didn't he play the Kingdom Come version of? didn't he play the version of Bruce Wayne, a much older Bruce Wayne, who was kind of confined to like a metal exoskeleton
Yeah.
that allowed him to
Yep.
move around and everything? That was the Kingdom Come version of Batman. It was actually like the oh, for heaven's sakes! I know the name of the comic book run by. It's escaping me now. Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they cross linked.
Oh,
They
I see it.
cross
I'm
connected
seeing
all.
it now. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay, Jack. They cross linked or interwove all of the all the CW shows at the time to tell that story. It was the Flash, it was Batwoman, it was Superman, or
If I heard they actually
Superman.
had like the Flash from like the older shows.
The '80s show, the '80s show, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That's really cool
I
actually.
think they,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He that was, I think, the only time that he got to play a live action Batman on screen for anything, really.
I think so too.
Let me ask you
Yep.
to
Yep.
so let me ask you too. What did you think of him as old Bruce in Batman Beyond? What did you think of his performance there?
So, I mean, when Batman Beyond first came on, I wasn't interested. But then
Mhm.
over the years, like once I, got really, like I rewatched the animated series, and for some reason, I got interested in just thinking, checking out Batman Beyond, and I did, and um, it turned
Mhm.
out to be better than I thought it would be. I thought it would be
Yeah.
bad, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like it's not as good, but it's still pretty good. I like the idea of how it starts, where it's like, okay, Batman
Mhm.
has to retire because he's getting too old. I mean, he was having a heart attack during the first battle, and out of desperation, he sees a gun and he pulls it on someone and he almost shoots them. And then he like
Mhm.
that messes with him where he's like, Batman's done if that's where I'm going. Um, but then I do like the idea of somebody just coming in and just taking on the role um, of Batman, as long as like you got Bruce Wayne, helping him out and passing the torch and everything, and that's exactly what happens in this one. Um,
Mhm.
and they use, you know, of course they use his iconic voice. So um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Zach, what about you? Did you have a chance to watch Batman Beyond, or was that something you passed on? He might be busy. Speaking for myself, Batman Beyond was a show that I did watch from start to finish, and I was like, I'm glad they did this because it was not only just the fact that it was it was a continuation of the Batman character that we all have come to know and love, but it was also the return of Kevin Conroy. But then, of course, you also had this protege, this younger Batman, Terry McGinnis. I can't remember the name of the actor who did the voice for him.
We should probably look
But
that up. I'll look it up.
okay, thank you, Janet. But we also get to see Bruce later on in his life, and he he realizes he can't do what it once did, but his mind is just as sharp as it ever was. And that's the one thing about Batman that we all, I think, admire most. It isn't the fact that he knows these fighting techniques, it's the fact that he has this incredibly trained and incredibly focused mind. And he really steps up to be the detective part of this duo. You have Terry McGinnis, who's the muscle, who's the young, spry protege, who can do the physical stuff that Bruce can't do anymore, but Bruce still has his mind. And that's the real wonderful thing about Conroy's involvement in Batman Beyond.
Yeah, well, it's another shade of that character. It's a totally unique portrayal of Batman in terms of the writing and the whole thing. I mean, even the performance is a little bit more nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the mentor aspect of that. I mean, there's a sense of legacy involved.
Yes, and they understand that. By the way, the one who played
when you're
Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond. Sorry, the man who played Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond was Mike. Oh man, Votisnios. I'm gonna put the spelling out here in the chat because it's very. I know I just messed that up, but I want to give that. I want to give that man a little bit of credit because he was good.
Yeah. Well, to do a follow up to an animated series is a risky thing, but taking it and everything, in particular with a character like Batman, because we all understand that Bruce Wayne is Batman. We all understand that it's him that's in the suit. So for them to take this risk and introduce a brand new character that would be taking on the mantle of the Bat, but with still having Bruce present, but more of a mentor / detective role, was a real it was honestly a stroke of genius. And the fact that you've got Kevin Conroy, who's willing to come back to reprise his role as Batman, just a much older Bruce or a much older Batman, after so many years being off from that, everything, because Batman Beyond aired between, I'm pretty sure, between the original Batman the Animated Series and Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. So for him to be off from this for so long and him to come back in and almost not miss a beat really speaks to his ability to reacclimate himself to a part and to a character, one that has become iconic for him. And a lot of people have said, previously have said that voice actors aren't real actors. To that, I say that's a load of BS. If I've ever heard any,
I agree. That is BS.
Because just because you're not in front of a camera doesn't mean you're any less of an actor than a person who is in front of a camera for umpteen dozen different takes. But voice acting takes just as much skill and just as much talent as
you still
it
have to
does
put
to be in
yourself
front
into that role.
In some ways, it can be more difficult. I mean, you have far less available to you. I mean, it's. I don't know. It depends on who you ask, but you're more limited.
Stephen Murphy, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Like I said, I never had the chance to meet him, but from everything that I've heard from people who have been posting on social media about him, about who have actually had the opportunity to meet Conroy, this is what I've heard across the board, that he was just a very warm and kind and gentle gentleman, and one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. I've got a buddy from college who is a huge, absolutely huge Batman fan, and when he learned about this, he's like, it actually just hit him to his core. So I do
I
want to bring
think
up this of Steve.
I think
Go
part
ahead,
of it
go
is
ahead,
just the
Jack.
fact that well, he died at 66. That's young for.
It is
I mean,
nowadays, yeah.
yeah. So
Well, it's like that is a dangerous age. I mean, 60 is where you could really. I mean, yeah. My grandfather and his brother died at like 61, 62. Um, yeah, I don't know. Sad, man.
it is. It is very
But I
sad.
mean, he was a class act of a guy, very talented, and I may sound like a broken record at this point, but
Mhm.
very underrated. You know, it's like I love these character actor guys. I'm inspired by them, and Kevin is one of those guys who I admire. Who, again, if I was in charge of the casting process, you would have seen a lot more of him. So, but regardless, he has left behind a really
Yeah.
important and just kind of cool legacy. So,
Yes, he has.
so with
Well, Zach,
that,
I know you got.
I'm going to
I know
clear the
you
field.
appreciate you being here. All
Yeah,
right,
well, thank you,
Zach. We'll
man.
talk to you
Always
later,
good to see
bud.
you.
You have a
And
good night.
Jack, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too, Zach.
Okay, take
Thank
care,
you.
guys.
Take care.
You too, buddy. So, and for those of you who don't know Zach, he's got 2 or 3 different channels and everything that he runs. One is Top Shelf TV. Him and me have collaborated numerous times on that and everything, talking entertainment news of different types and so on, and different little articles and whatever. He also has a political channel called the Last Outlaws. Regardless of what your political leanings might be, he does a lot of really good work on there. So I highly encourage you go check out both those channels. You'll see this face on there, but that's beside the point and everything. Zach is he's a good friend, and I do my best to support my friends. So, Stephen, you have a good night too, bud. Appreciate you stopping in. So, and thank you for your thoughts on Kevin. So. I'm not, we're not going to belabor this for too long, but before we close out, I do want to just take a few minutes and maybe talk about maybe a couple of our favorite performances or favorite episodes from either Batman Beyond, or Justice League Unlimited, or anything. So, Jack, any particular episodes that really stick out to you in terms of
Oh,
Kevin?
there's been a bunch. So, I mean, I've actually been doing a marathon
Mhm.
of the animated series, privately.
Yeah, no, I got you. Mhm.
And there's so many episodes that I wish I could just talk about endlessly. But if I was going to talk about the one episode that I've always loved,
Mhm.
it was Christmas with the Joker. It's the most silliest. It's the silliest episode, but yet it introduces. I mean,
Mhm.
it introduces you to the Joker. It introduces you to
Mhm.
what he's all about. And then like the punchline in the end is like the silliest thing. Batman gets a pie to the face. It's like,
Yeah, Christmas with a joke. That honestly is one of the really good episodes. I cannot lie. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I have to say one of my favorite episodes from the animated series, and it's one you're not going to suspect. I mean, I listed a couple yesterday on my Twitter account.
Hmm.
But I have to say the one that really gave an all around feel for who the Batman character is the Laughing Fish.
Oh yeah.
And the reason is we really get to see Batman as the detective, as the pure detective.
Yes.
And I always love that aspect of character. If I had to give a follow up, it would have to be the second appearance of Ra's al Ghul. And
Right.
it's not the demon's head. It's the other episode where we have the flashback to the past with the character Jonah Hex and the younger Ra's al
Okay.
Ghul and his son Arcady Duvall. And
Right.
Batman only has a few lines of dialogue at all throughout the entire episode because mostly just the flashback and Al Raish talking to Batman about who this Arcady Duvall is. And it turns out it's his son. And instead of engaging him, instead of trying to fight Al Ghul, Raish says, just let me take my boy home. And
Right.
Bruce and Robin, they step aside and he's like, I'm not here to fight, cause a ruckus. I'm not here to cause any type of trouble. He's like, I just came to get my son and take him home and bury him. I don't know who this person is. Do you recognize Jack in the chat? Do you recognize this person? Because I don't recognize him. Oh, Jack left. Anyway, but honestly, it's okay. Jack's back.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, Jack. It's okay. It happened.
You were asking me a question right before it happened.
It's all right. Yeah. Do you recognize this person that's down here in the bottom? Because I don't recognize him.
The Stephen Murphy guy.
Mm-hmm. No. Down here below the StreamYard. Or maybe I'm the only one who can see that. It's okay.
I don't think I can see that one. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Like as I said, that particular episode with Bruce and just stepping aside and letting Raish take his son home. It really speaks volumes to his mentality. And the fact that he realizes, look, this isn't some scheme. Ra's al Ghul isn't trying to pull. He's just trying to collect his son, take him home so he can die.
Right.
And that really shows the compassionate heart. There's one other episode I do want to mention here, and that is, of course, it's my favorite. It is by far in my top 5 of the animated series of my all-time favorite episodes, and that is, of course, Heart of Ice, which I already mentioned. And it's the introduction of Mr. Freeze.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
that's a good one.
Bruce is like, we met in a stream about a year and a half ago. I think I recognize you, Ilium. It's been a while. Okay. All right, I'll bring you on, Ilium. If this is a troll, you're gone. So, hey, Ilium.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, bud. It's been more than a minute. I think don't take this the wrong way. I think I vaguely remember you.
No, it's cool. No problem. No problem. Like,
wait a minute.
We only met once. So yeah.
I recognize your voice.
Yeah.
Where did we meet?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Because I honestly don't.
Yeah, my friend Ace Malik. We were on his stream.
Oh,
April 2021, like a very long time ago. Yeah. I've been subscribed to your channel.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Ace.
I've been seeing you in my subscription for like the past year and a half, and I thought I might as well join the stream and like see what you guys are talking about, because obviously I'm a huge Batman fan. And then there was an option to join, and I was like, oh, it's been a while since I've called with Ambassador, so might as well.
Yeah, Ilium. Now that you mentioned, I remember you now because I was on a stream with you and Ace. I remember you now. So,
and you asked me a physics question. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, because
I
I'm
have slept
studying
since
physics
then.
all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have slept since then. So, Ilium. We're obviously, you've probably heard anything. Kevin Conroy passed away, and we've just been discussing
Yeah.
his career and his impact and his legacy and everything. So, Ilium, your thoughts, please, by all means.
I really wish I got to meet him. Like I really like he was, in my opinion, the quintessential Batman. I don't think anyone, like how I see Kevin Conroy when it comes to Batman, that's how I see Mark Hamill when it comes to Joker. Like Mark Hamill will always beat the Joker to me, even though like
100%.
Heath Ledger did a fantastic job, but I feel like Mark Hamill's Joker. Sorry, I know this is kind of off topic. I feel like Mark Hamill's Joker is, like that. His characteristics. That's what I associate more with the Joker than Heath's portrayal. But Heath did a terrific job as well. And it's very sad to hear about Kevin. And it's quite touching. Like I think Mark Hamill tweeted that like Kevin wouldn't want us to grieve. He'd want us to celebrate. Like
I
what
loved
we loved
his
about
tweet.
him.
Yeah.
I love Mark Hamill. Like Mark Hamill's just such a nice guy. Like he's a very, very wholesome person. Yeah.
Well, and you can judge. There's an old saying, but I consider this a truism. You can judge a person by the company they keep and the friends that they have. And you really have to give credit to Kevin Conroy because he had some of the best friends. And of course, Mark Hamill was one of them.
Yep.
And it's two guys who really understood that where they came from and why they have the careers they have is because of the fan that follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a rare thing, because there are a lot of actors and actresses out there that could give two wits about or give two craps about their fan bases. But Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill both understood that it was the fans that made them and gave them what they have today. And we are all, to varying degrees, we are diminished because of Kevin Conroy's passing. And it will take us time, just as much as it will his family take that grief. It'll also take time for us to grieve as well, because Conroy had just as much an impact on us as he did everybody else, including his own family. And a person who has an impact wherever he goes and whatever he does. Gave a very warm welcome to Mr. Tim of Tim Possible. Hey, Tim.
Hello there. What's up?
Hey, Tim.
What's up,
Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Hello.
Going?
Hey, Tim.
What up? What's going on, everyone? Sorry.
Hey, Tim. How you doing, bud?
I see Twitch going. What's going on, everyone? So we're talking about Kevin Conroy tonight, or what are we talking about? Black Panther 2. What's the bigger?
I haven't seen Black Panther. We're talking about Kevin Conroy.
Okay, Jesus. All right, sorry.
Yeah, we're talking about Kevin Conroy.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Conroy. My greatest moment for him, I think I appreciate this a little bit more than anyone. On the CW when he showed up playing the anti-Batman, I thought that was a really good moment because we got to see his acting performance on screen for the first time, because he's always been behind the scenes. So
I can agree with that.
Yeah, no. It was the evil Batman. I was like, whoo. At first, we believed him for a second what was going on. And then they reeled it back, and he was like, no. he's a sketchy Batman, but it's because we have heard this voice for years, and we want to believe this is Batman. So they took that risk, and that's why I love so much about that. But no, I'm a 90s baby. I grew up with him, the 90s Batman series, and later protruding onto the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. I'm a huge fan of that. He is my Batman as far as the voice, right? As far as like the voice of the Joker, obviously Mark Hamill. So there's obviously that iconic picture online
100%,
between those two. Okay, so no,
I saw that picture.
This death hit me pretty differently when I heard about it. I was just like, it was a gut punch into my heart. It really was.
Same with me.
Because I grew up watching this. Watching this when I grew up, like every in the 90s.
It's okay if you get emotional.
This
it's fine, man. I understand.
Batman is my favorite. My favorite, and that's why I'm a
DC
guy.
It's mine
Batman.
Too. Exactly.
To see him pass away,
right?
It like strikes you something differently when you wake up, and you know you're not so invincible.
Yeah.
When you wake up, you're not so invincible.
What?
And when you have your titans of your heroes shown, they're not so like even though they're iconic, they're still as invulnerable as you, even though they portray some characters that are greater, if that makes sense. So it was like it was a gut punch.
My friend.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
No problem. Don't say sorry.
No, you're fine,
that was wonderful.
No.
You don't need to apologize.
I can discuss this before the two of you came in. Ilium, let me ask you, and then Tim, I'll ask you the same question. What of the four series that he was in, whether it being Batman, Batman Beyond, Justice League, or Justice League Unlimited, what for you was by far your favorite or your most standout episode or anything of his turn as the Batman? And Ilium, the question goes to you first.
So I want to give some backstory here, right? So
sure.
I'm 24 now. Surprisingly, as a kid, I didn't like Batman as a child. I was a Spider-Man guy. I didn't understand Batman. I actually felt like he was too dark to be a hero. I was like, why is this guy so sad? And I was like, this is not what a hero is meant to be. And I was 15 and final year of high school. Because we do things differently in the UK, right? Like we finish high school when we're 16. So I'm not going to get into the education system differences, but my friend, he owed me some money, and instead of giving me money, he gave me a free copy of Arkham Origins. I was like, oh, it's a free game. I was like, I don't really like Batman, but it's a free game. I'm not going to complain. Roger Craig Smith portrayed Batman in that game. I fell in love with the character. I was like, oh, so this is why Batman's dark. So this game kind of explains it all. I was like, I need to get Asylum, City, and then eventually I got Night. And Kevin Conroy portrayed the character in those three games. And I was like, oh, this is such a great story. You know, people say it's a spiritual successor to the animated series. So the animated series, well, I've seen Mask of the Phantasm, and that is probably my favorite portrayal of Kevin Conroy. That was a beautiful film. And for every Batman fan watching tonight, highly recommend. It's just slightly longer than an hour, but it's a very great film. Probably one of my favorite Batman films. I haven't seen much of the animated series. I think I've seen On Leather Wings, which is the first episode. I don't remember too much of it, unfortunately. But one episode that I have seen and that I do love, and I think Ambassador mentioned this trait of Batman, his compassion, and how sensitive Batman is. Like Batman, I feel like Mask of the Phantasm sorry, this is relevant. Mask of the Phantasm showed that Batman is an angel who dresses up as the devil. That's kind of who this character is. He wants criminals to fear him. He wants criminals to fear him because, by definition, the only way to keep evil people in check is to make them afraid of punishment. Because, by definition, evil people don't care about anybody except for themselves.
Right.
Or they enjoy the suffering of others.
And that's a very good psychology of Batman there.
Yeah, and he is an angel because he doesn't take lives, because he sees criminals as scum, but he sees them as people who's been through the same thing that he has, which speaks volumes about how much compassion this guy has. And the episode I'm referring to that I really like is An Appointment in Crime Alley. The ending of that really hits so incredibly deep. Not to get too personal, I don't really have my mother in my life anymore, personal reasons. So seeing Batman grieve his dead parents with Leslie Tompkins, who's like his surrogate mother, comforting him, that hits for me in a way that I don't think it'll ever hit for most people who still have their mothers around. So, like, it shows that, if I'm not mistaken, the whole premise of the episode is a part of Gotham is being demolished by like a mobster or something, and Batman tries to stop it, and the mobster ends up getting he ends up getting arrested, but Batman knows he's going to break out because he's got connections, and it makes Batman feel bad because he's like, oh, this part of Gotham's gone, and
well, I think that's a metaphor.
That final line, there are still good people in Crime Alley, like, it really gets to me.
I remember that. Yeah. And that does.
I do too.
That's one of those things where, like, I feel like Batman in a lot of ways is like Jean-Luc Picard. He's like, no matter what, he will always try to find a diplomatic solution.
Course. Yeah, he'll try and find a diplomatic course.
Yeah.
So, Tim, same question to you, bud. If you do you need me to repeat the question? Yeah. It's fine. Of Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, or even the anime films that he took part in, what would be by far your favorite performance by Conroy? Our favorite episode, everything by Conroy.
Not episode specific. I obviously grew up with him as a child, hearing his voice. Like 90s comic or 90s like series was definitely iconic. It was like definitely darker and dour in tone than I remember. When I revisited, like probably like a year and a half ago during the pandemic, right? We were bored on our hands, and I revisited it. So I think the thing I'll always take from it is he's always like the father I never had. He's like, suck it up. Suck it up, sunshine. Life is not so easy. And I feel like that's, to be honest, that's not what I had. And I was like, wow, Batman's like, life's not going to be perfect. It's not sunshine and rainbows. And I think Batman, in a way, is a lot of people's daddies or whatever, because he has daddy issues. But I don't know. The voice is so iconic, distilled within Batman. And that's why we will always remember him, because Kevin embodied everything within it. And even when we saw him on screen for the short time, I thought that was like, even though he was evil, it's still a good performance.
Very good performance, actually.
Yeah, I know people are quite divided on. I was like, oh no, he got like off pretty quick. It's like, well, you know, due to that time, his body was fractured, right? His everything within him is bones. Like his body was like more robotic than man. So I get the fact of that, but like, you know, I don't know. It's hard to see a legend die. We're seeing our legends die. Mark Hamill's just as old. Harrison Ford is just as old. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and then there was another legend that actually died the same time today or whatever.
Gallagher.
Gallagher. So
yeah,
you know.
Rest in peace, Gallagher.
Yeah, R.I.P. It sucks, man. It sucks. It just, you know, I can't say enough about Kevin. That's it. You know, that's enough. You know, rest in peace, Batman.
It does hurt because it's like it's just so much loss in so little time.
No, it's because I grew up with him. I heard him in my '90s
Both of us.
cartoons. '90s cartoons growing up, and I was like, yeah, that is Batman when I hear his voice. Like I can't miss his voice.
I think yeah, we all I think we all like we all relate to that where it's like it's I mean this Batman this is the you know the voice of this Batman is the ultimate voice of Batman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like, you know, lost Carrie Fisher a few years ago, and everybody still is tore up about that because, well, she was our princess.
She was
she was a wonderful person, and she really loved the fandom. She really loved the fandom.
She did.
She's like, Star Wars fans are the best, you know. Yeah, she really loved the fandom.
You know, the tribute that they did for her back in 2016 was just, it was beautiful. And you see footage of her throughout her life, during Star Wars, after Star Wars, during the sequels, and so on. And you know, you see footage of her with her daughter, Billy. You see footage of her with her mom, Debbie Reynolds. Absolutely fabulous talent of the old silver screen. And you know, as I said before, the last one that hit me really hard like this was, of course, as I mentioned, Mr. Spock, Larry Nimoy, but also, you know, Carrie Fisher, and now Kevin Conroy. I mean, I don't want to by any means jinx us, but we can all, I think, see the writing on the wall. Eventually, Vader's going to be gone. James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
We all know how life works. Yeah, and that's the tragic part of it all. We know that these people who are with us now will not always be with us, and all we can do is just cherish while they're here. Cherish them while they're here.
Yeah,
I think Seneca. I think Seneca said it best. Only time heals what reason cannot.
That's a good point.
Yes. Yeah, and I know that I know exactly who you're referencing, Ilium. So, yes, very well said.
Yeah.
But you know,
I think the last person's death who hit me this hard was Stephen Hawking. That was really painful for me.
I agree. Stephen Hawking.
Even if you're not a science nerd or anything, just the fact, you know, he made physics and astrophysics and mathematics and all the things that he was a specialist in, he made them somewhat more accessible and more recognizable to the common person, to the lay person, the person who didn't know jack diddly about anything he ever talked about, but he could make it at least accessible to the rest of us. 100%. And that is but you know, I will say this, as I have said, as someone who was acquainted with death early in life. And this is a piece of advice that one of my professors in seminary gave us, and it is very true. The mourning process and grieving has no set end date, and you will never stop mourning, and you will never stop grieving. But as time goes on, the pain will be less, but there will be times when the pain is more. And I think for all of us, November 10th, November 11th, 2022 will be a painful day going forward.
Yeah.
But the thing that we should remember is that while not many of us had the opportunity to know Kevin Conroy in life, I think he would say, do not grieve as you feel is warranted and necessary, but don't grieve unnecessarily, because I lived a life.
This man's going to live on.
And he will have achieved what all humanity has dreamed of.
Yes.
And not in the sense that we would consider it. But he will have achieved immortality through his performances.
He already has.
No, it's okay.
Not in a cynical way, but like, I mean, I guess most people. I mean, it's sad that a lot of people die unfulfilled. I think we should all be grateful that Kevin Conroy probably didn't, though. He lived a full life. You know, maybe like, because the age he died at, maybe like that's considered relatively a short life, like in today's standards. But like, he lived a life of quality. You know, like he did what he loved. He did what he loved. Yeah. He loved what he did. Like he loved the fans. You know, like he was.
Like,
he was
I was a fan.
He was truly one.
I asked him to do something really silly. You know what I mean? I asked him to say, "I am the terror that flaps in the night like Darkwing Duck," and he actually did it. I mean, if he didn't do it because like he was, you know, like of his pride or whatever, I could have understood it, but he did it. And then, like, oh my God, I don't know. He's a good sport for that. You know what I mean?
But 100%. And not in on the 11th of November, even though that was a very sad day for all of us, one good thing that did come out of that day, for me at least, I realized how many people shared the love I have for this guy, and probably even exceeded it, because so many people, like, you know, sharing fan art of him in the bat suit, and I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, this guy meant so much to so many people. Like, I'm so grateful to live in 2022 where liking comic books and comic book material, maybe it's looked down upon by a lot of people still, but like, it's become more accepted, and, you know, it's become less stigmatized. And it's people like him, it's people like Kevin, like, he's the reason that, like, people like, oh, this comic book stuff may seem a bit lame and nerdy, but this guy sounds cool. Like, he broke the stigma, like, oh, like, you know, like Ambassador was saying, these are detective stories. These are stories about compassion, about redemption, like Mr. Freeze, about humanity. Like, these are like my friend Ace Malik said, comic books are today's modern day mythology. Like, it's mythology, just the modern day. So
yeah, he's so right to the point where I have nothing more to add to that. That is exactly.
Well, like I said, we were going to belabor the point, but Alien, Tim, I'm glad you came on and everything. I'm glad you got a chance to share your thoughts on your experiences, what Kevin Conroy's passing meant to you, what his performance and his legacy means to all of us and to you all as well. I don't want this to be, like I said, I don't. This is a very downbeat moment. But before we do close out, I do want to ask those of you who might have been watching this series or not, what have your thoughts been on Andor? For those of you that have been watching.
Oh,
Okay, I haven't watched Andor, so I'm a dip out. But
Okay, Jack, that's fine.
But thank you for your letting me tell you
Jack,
everything
of
about it.
course. To everybody
See
who
you,
was
Jack.
able to
Take care.
see you, Jack.
All right,
So.
love you.
Peace,
See
buddy.
ya. Take care.
Talk to you later.
I'll give my thoughts on this. I know it's quite divided because it's not typical Star Wars, but I love the expansion of the brand. Of course, this episode 10, right? I'm not covering it until this week. I'm waiting until 11, 12 to conclude it, right? Because
I'm doing the same thing.
Viewership has been down. So I'm doing the Hangout streams tomorrow and then covering Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which is quite divisive, but still going to get numbers. So, but I think I have a lot more positive take than most and that I can defend. I've seen a lot of people's takes. They don't invite me on because obvious reasons they don't invite me on because they don't want anyone else to speak positively about it. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but they don't want people that can speak both sides of the argument. I see it now, and I've been saying it, and I'm going to reach out to a couple of my friends and say, hey, I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I think it's decent. That doesn't mean it's good. I think it's decent. 2 hours and 41 minutes. Okay, maybe the wrong time, too much shoved in, but I'm noticing too much stuff in the way they conduct their videos, on the people they have on their shows. They don't want any discourse. So
are you talking about Wakanda Forever or are you talking about Andor?
Wakanda Forever.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
Okay, so there has been a lot. Viewership numbers for that is very lucrative for that now. So that's why I'm going to cover it. So as far as Andor, more legitimate conversation. That last episode was fantastic, dude.
Banger.
The oh my gosh, the stuff with Andy Serkis
Andy Serkis,
is phenomenal. The serious conversation, the realism going on within Star Wars. People are like, this is not Star Wars. No,
it is.
It is. This is stuff that Rogue One was trying to bring awareness for. Meaning, we're always thinking about lightsabers and the glitz and glamours, pew, pew, pew. No, this was showing what the rebels were dealing with. And, the Empire. And all of the Empire was not always for this. They were struggling with thinking these thoughts. They had to survive. They were trying to do their jobs because if they don't do their jobs, they're going to get killed necessarily. So the thing is here, Andy Serkis, he was like, he was trying to do things straight from the book. And then once he figures out that each layer of this prison had done their job, he's like, no one's ever going to become free. No one's ever going to become free, and that's what breaks him. And Andor was working on him, and Andy Serkis's character kind of knew that back behind his head. I knew he did. And then you find out the dude can't swim. I feel like he knew it the whole time, but he couldn't swim. But he had this fear. Don't you feel like that in a way? He knew this whole business was shady, but he couldn't swim. It's like, how the fuck am I going to get out? Right? Forget my language. Yeah. But like,
oh, you're fine, bud.
In essence, yeah. But like in essence, Andy Serkis was the one running the shit. He knew what was going on. And this was like the last stringer. He needed to hear clear, concise information to drive him over the line. And he was like, oh my gosh, I know I can't swim. I feel like he always knew this base was based on water around, or he couldn't swim. So I do think the big question is Andy Serkis going to live beyond this? He is. Andor is going to help him swim past this. But I don't know, man. That's it.
Yeah. Alien, what about you? Have you had a chance to watch Andor at all?
So I haven't been keeping up with the latest episodes because I saw the first 6 episodes, and then I think as soon as I finished episode 6 today at stream, my dad's Disney Plus decided to die that day. He just ran out.
Oh no!
And no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm quite busy with university, like a lot of studying to do.
Yeah.
And I love Disney Plus, and I'm very happy that I've been using it for 2 years. But like, yeah, I'll probably finish it in the summer or something. I'll probably get I can probably pay for Disney Plus myself, but I just don't want to get distracted from university. And the first 6 episodes of the show.
I understand that.
So, yeah.
Dude,
so
I'm going to tell you.
The first 3 episodes.
Episode through 10. Go ahead.
The first 3 episodes, because it aired as one package, so I kind of see those as just one giant episode. But yeah, the first 2 episodes I thought were okay. I didn't like them as much as everyone else. I wish I did. Obviously, like, I am a Star Wars fan. I don't want to dislike anything Star Wars. But the third episode, I was like, oh. The third episode, I was like, oh. So this 3 episode arc, I was like, okay, that was a good pack of 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4, 5, and 6, it just kept getting better because I'm like, we're getting so much like downbeat talking, not downbeat, sorry, like low-key talking moments in Star Wars. Like, there's not much action. I was like, this is refreshing. You know, like we're getting like a lot of politics and like, you know, Mon Mothma's like not getting along with her family. I was like, this makes the universe of Star Wars feel a bit more human. You know, it feels a bit more grounded. You know, Luthen with his antique shop, that was quite funny. That was probably my favorite part of the show. And I kind of want a spin-off show just for Luthen and his antique shop, because that'd be quite a funny comedy Star Wars show.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Well, not to mention Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah,
man, that guy.
Episode 6 was fantastic because I think that was the highest episode, if I'm not mistaken. And I just I knew the writer said, yeah, people are gonna die. I didn't expect everyone to just get massacred in one episode. That was quite insane. Like, it's Andor and that the leader left.
It was Andor, Vel, and Skeen, but Skeen gets killed. So, but
yeah, exactly.
I hear you, and I will not spoil anything for you, Ilium, because I don't want. Whenever you get around to finishing the rest of the series, dude, you are in for a ride. But I will say,
what? Sorry, one thing, I'm definitely gonna finish the series because the Imperial officer, I forgot her name. She's blonde and she ties her hair. Yeah,
Ramiro.
the
I know exactly. She's
actress,
played by
the
Denise Gaug, I think is her name. Denise Gaug.
the
Leo.
actress,
Yeah.
says something that
So
really
good.
intrigues me.
Yeah.
She says something that
Dude,
really intrigues
so
me,
good.
that I can't wait to finish the show, because she said something that was very intriguing, and I like the sound of, because it sounds interesting. She said, the whole point of my character is to show that power can corrupt women just as easily as it does men. I'm like, ooh, that sounds very interesting. So this sounds like someone who lets power
Yeah.
get to their head, and I'm like, that sounds quite interesting, like an imperial officer, because
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever focused this much on an officer, like with power getting to their head, like since the original trilogy. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that.
There is one thing I want to quote, and Tim knows what I'm probably going to quote even started. It's actually a piece of dialogue spoken by Luthen in episode 10. Now, this isn't a massive spoiler because it doesn't really reveal anything.
I think I
But
might have heard it, but
this
no problem.
this monologue by Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen Riel, except for maybe Andy Serkis as Kino Loy when he's trying to get everybody moving. That's all I'll say. I think is one of the best pieces of dialogue ever written for a Star Wars show or a movie. Okay. The character says to Luthen, "What do you sacrifice?" Now, I will not try and impersonate Stellan Skarsgård here. That's his part. I will just read the dialogue. Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless place. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago from which there is only one conclusion. I am damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight. They set me on a path from which there is no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I am condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I will never see. And the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
That's what he says to in the last fight.
So
He's like, Lonnie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Lonnie and Lonnie.
Don't say anymore. Don't say
Okay.
anymore, Tim. I don't spoil it for Ilium.
Yeah, it was really powerful.
That scene.
That sounds fantastic,
everything.
and it reminds me. I don't know if you guys know about the Modern Warfare 2019 reboot. Captain Price in the game, he says a quote that I perfectly think defines what it means to be a hero. We get dirty so the world stays clean. That's the mission. The hero's job is to sacrifice everything so that other people can be okay. That's kind of what it's all about. So
yeah, but like this is not quite that like crystal clear. Like that line's like pretty cut and dry, like 50-50. This like the line spoken here is that both characters are so embedded within that universe. Both of them, Luthen and the opposite, are so struck in between. It doesn't matter what you do. If you leave, you are always within You are always stuck within this universe, no matter what take you want to have. And that's the point of what Luthen is saying to his, his persons he's grooming. Like Luthen, like revealed the fact that he demonized or ruined some rebel stuff. He was like, you know what? I gave some information to you to keep your career going. We heard some rebel stuff in which he said, I made your career, but it was for the greater good. That's absolutely the conversation that went on. And he was like, you can't leave. You're too thick in this conversation. And he knew it. Luthen's too thick within it. And that's what the whole conversation was about. It was about realism and the gravity of it. Like you can't go this deep into this and expecting no you can't leave this situation clean. You can't leave it clean. And we all know it. Period.
The way I interpreted that scene between, and I'm going to talk about this in a couple weeks when the rest of the series wraps, and I do my review for it for episodes 7 through 12. It has been a long time since I've seen a series that I have been so invested in that I watched the episode more than once. Any episode. I've watched episode 10 twice now, and that's been true for just about every episode of Andor so far. It has been a time, I think, since myself as a Star Wars fan, I have been treated to, and this is not me saying anything bad about Book of Boba Fett or Kenobi or The Mandalorian or Tales of the Jedi or Season 7 of Clone Wars. Nothing any of them, because I enjoyed all of them. But this gives a look at the Star Wars universe. It gives us a view from those within the rebellion and those within the Empire that we have never seen before. Yeah, we've seen Imperial officers. Yeah, we've seen rebel officers and generals and so on. But we never got the opportunity to pause. What are these people thinking? What are they feeling? And why are they doing what they're doing? And that's what Andor has given us the opportunity to see and to discuss. No, there's no big space battles. No, there's no droids popping all over the place. No, there's no Jedis and Sith flying around with lightsabers in their hands using force powers to push each other through walls. But this is just as much Star Wars as the OE or the PT or even the EU is. And to kind of tie this back to the original topic of the stream tonight, the performances that we have gotten from this cast for Andor, I think, are just as good as anything we have seen on, and just as good as we have seen from one single voice actor who, for decades upon end, gave his time, his energy, and his talent to voice a character that we either loved before or came to love and appreciate because of his work. And of course, that man is Mr. Kevin Conroy. So, but with all of that being said, I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. I want to thank everybody that joined me this evening. Jack Beers and Biggie, Ilium, Zach Leary, gentlemen, my friends, to everybody in the chat, Stephen Murphy, Alicia Victoria Parker, all of you that will catch us on the replay, whether you're watching it on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, thank you all for being here tonight. And of course, leave your thoughts on the passing of Kevin Conroy, or even on our of Andor. thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for your time. And I hope you all enjoyed this. And of course, if you did enjoy it, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you leave your comments down below. But if you are not subscribed to the Ambassador Wing, or you don't follow me on Twitter or Facebook, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, and become a part of this community where we discuss, we debate, we celebrate cinema and those that are part of that landscape. The actors, the actresses, the directors. So, and we will see you all next time. The rest of it, we will see you all around the corner. And until next time, stay ambassador. And these are the ambassadors. Signing off.